29th of February. Oh, what am I talking about? It's the 2nd of February 25. It's Sunday, and I'm looking at the Stats for Lefties poster on, the poll collector on Twitter. The best one that I can find of the polls, because they also give the constituencies how they think. It's their estimate, but that's what all that matters to Labour. I mean, Labour get 33% of the vote in the last election in 2024, and the Labour MPs are telling you it was an overwhelming victory. You know, I think they get less votes than Jeremy Corbyn in 2019, and I'm not sure about the percent. It was about the same as 2019. Jeremy got more in 2015, but Theresa May got a record turnout, I think. So, yeah, and here we've got Scotland for the Holyrood seats in 2026, because we're not very democratic in Scotland, although we do have proportional representation, which is a bit more democratic. We only have Holyrood elections every 5 years. It used to be every 4 years, but Nicola made it every 5 years. So what she's saying is that we want, between that time, you'll have a dictatorship, basically, until vote time comes round every 5 years, so twice in 10 years you're going to get to vote, or three times if you want to think of it that way, but depending where you put day zero. Yeah, so that's democracy for you in Scotland, from the SNP basically, and the other ones, they all probably voted for this as well. I mean, it should, if you're going to stick to this rigid, not very democratic electoral system, it needs to be every 3 years, like they have in Australia, New Zealand. The MPs will tell you that's not enough time, but because they want it to be like a dictatorship, basically, they get 5 years and the other side gets 5 years, or they get 10 years, the other side gets 5 years. No, it's got to be every 3 years. Anyway, on to this, and it's mainly about Reform making the big breakthrough. Not in seats, because they only get 9 seats, but on percentages, and all I can say is thank goodness Scotland is waking up. I would say, if you're concerned about the women's rights of Nicola Sturgeon and Vivek Cooper, on J.K. Rowling, along that spectrum, then you need to vote Reform at the moment, as a protest vote, as a single issue vote really, on the reason that this is changing. Even though they're terrible on that single issue, they're not good enough. They want a net zero on it, and I'm not talking about climate change. A net zero last year would have been like 400 to 600,000 newcomers with different views on women's rights and LGBT, and that, in my opinion. Because what seems to happen is Nicola and are staunchly against female GM, but when you vote the left, it seems to happen more and more in practice. So, and also I would say Nicola and Yvette, their views on women's rights and LGBT, and J.K. Rowling even, are actually, well, not J.K. Rowling, because I don't know how she feels on this issue. It's only people who want a mix. People who want a mix and are against female GM and the likes. They think it's un-British. And they talk about British values, Scottish values. When they're talking about that, they're actually talking about the natives. Or you could put it wider. You could say on the R word. So they're actually being white, woke. And they're actually being supreme about it, because they want a multi-society. They want the natives to become a minority much sooner than the Tories do. The Tories also want that to happen. They want to be a global south majority plus East Europe, although we don't know what will happen to the East Europe people. They might just blend in, they might mix, intermarry, we don't know. Although we do see a lot of names with murders involved in that, and the unpronounceable names. But they might long term mix, we don't know, but in general. But that's what you're voting for when you vote the left. The question is, how ultra soon do you want that to happen, really? The Tories maybe 20, 30 years, Labour 10, 15 years, SNP 5 years or whatever, we don't know. But, so, really I'm talking about this, and the pollster, Ian Curtis or whatever his name is, maybe a sort of superhero, I find him a bit annoying. he's been saying that the Reform aren't moving until Labour's vote. But it does look as if it's moving here, because Labour are down, SNP are down, Reform are up. I think the main reason is because the towns, and because Scotland is a sanctuary thing. John Swinney was saying the other day, we need more and more. He was saying that to JP, that funding hedge fund manager thing, JP Morgan or whatever, in Glasgow. He's saying we need more and more. So that's where you're getting when you vote SNP. They're crazy on this issue. They're ultra fanatical, as are Sinn Féin in Ireland, and Plaid Cymru. You find this with all the quote nationalist parties. So I think at some point soon, the SNP marchers who wear kilts and like Rabbie Burns, whose statues need to come down, by the way, according to the new majority, I would imagine. They're not doing it, not saying that just now because they know they need the marchers, the SNP marchers, and they feel emotionally tied to Rabbie Burns. All his statues need to come down. If you look at his history, he thought about going to Jamaica, but he didn't go. But that's more than enough to put him top of the list for statue toppling, I would think. Yeah, I'm really worried how they're going to handle this. I think they're going to go absolutely crazy once they realise what Nicola and what's going to happen is maybe 5-10 years time we'll have statues of Nicola by the SNP marchers, and then 15-20 years time they're going to topple them, the marchers. That's the sort of thing that's going to happen. So it's a relief. So on to reform in Scotland again. Can I say it's a total relief? Like finally, people, and I think it's because they're seeing what's happening in our towns and that. I mean, Glasgow's gone basically. It's like London in the early 80s. I would say Glasgow's a sort of no-go area now. There's not things happening yet that are visible in the news anyway. There is one or two news stories I've seen. There was that one, the rape up in Aberdeen, and I think the next year the SNP female MP and a lot of women marched about that. I think that was a young man. He'd come over here. He was 16 when he was 16, and he just raped a stranger lady, native probably, when he was 17 or 18. It turned out that his asylum thing had been rejected, and where was he? He happened to be working, which was a surprise. And where was he working? He was working for the council when he was a rejected asylum seeker. So I don't know how that works out. Yeah, and then we had that case in Glasgow. I remember not that long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, where a drunk young lady, was having an arrest in Denstone or something, and some man who'd moved to Scotland came out and said, I've got like a beer garden round the back and it's Denstone flat or something like that. Took the young lady up to his flat and raped her. There was no big deal about that one, it seems. But yeah, that's good. And then we had that murder in Glasgow, didn't we? That rape and murder of the lady who was a successful businesswoman near that park in Hampden, just at the top. And it turned out that the guy raped and murdered was a man from, I can't remember where it was, Serbia or something. He was completely drunk or disorderly or something, I can't remember. Anyway, that's 3 rapes I can think of. It seems to, when you vote SNP and that, to me it feels like there's more of these new stories with unpronounceable names happen, but people don't see a connection with the SNP and that. I mean, I would hold Labour, Conservatives and SNP to blame for these sort of Southport murder. Nobody seems to blame them. I would hold them to blame, because how good is a citizenship test on women's rights, LGBT and plus and that? And how even did these people get in anyway? When you look at the things, how did they get in and what are they up to? We don't know what the Southport parents are up to. It's a taxi driver. I don't know. He came over in 2002. So it's a relief. I was wondering, because it looked like Scotland and Wales, the natives, are so nice that they weren't going to do this at all. I mean, even a year ago, Ian Curtis, is that his name? He was saying the Reform aren't making any inroads in Scotland. I mean, even a year ago, they weren't even an option on the YouGov survey, which we should all do, or they were in the other section. 1 or 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they probably weren't even an option. 1 year ago, they were in the other section, but now they're an option. I mean, I select them in YouGov. Everyone should do YouGov surveys because it's the only chance of democracy you get in between elections. That and by-elections and council elections. You should vote reform every time for an Overton window shift. The more you care about the women's rights of Nicola Sturgeon, Yvette Cooper and J.K. Rowling, Sharon Davis, you want to stay in that spectrum apart from, Nicola Sturgeon sees the burqa as a part of women's feminism, self-expression, She doesn't see it as male oppression, but, that's up to you, Yeah, so you need to vote reform. So they weren't even on the radar a year ago, and apparently Anna Sarwar has just made a speech. His dad was the first Muslim MP in Britain. The British natives voted him. In 2009 he got involved with some Glasgow young lady with a Bangladeshi name, was taken to Bangladesh for an arranged marriage. He didn't get involved at first, but then he did get involved. For some reason he said he wasn't standing for re-election in 2010, so we thought, okay, he's had enough of politics. But then in 2014 he turns up in Pakistan. He's given up his British citizenship, and he becomes a parliamentarian of some sort, governor or some sort for the ruling centre-right party over there. I don't know if they were frowned upon by British human rights groups. I don't know, but so he becomes a governor, and then he switches to Imran Khan's populist party, who's a bit like the Trump there. I think British Pakistanis are very fond of Imran Khan. He was married to a Jewish British lady, but now he's married to a Pakistani lady who wears the veil, etc. Imran Khan. Yeah, and I don't know what he is now, but he's still a governor somewhere. And when Anas came back from his signing in thing, I think this was his second term, he was saying, it made me realise when I looked at the former governors of the area, because Britain set up the infrastructure there, basically, I think, that they like. So you could say Britain set up the good thing, the good part of Pakistan maybe. We don't know what the bad parts are. We don't know why all the people there seem to want to move to the west. They don't want to seem to live there. And also British Pakistanis don't seem to want to move there apart to become MPs, or maybe they're on the run, or to be buried, basically. I don't know if that's true. Maybe there are young Pakistani British who want to move there because they like it more. It doesn't seem that way, but anyway, yeah, and Anas Sarwar was at a signing, and he wrote a thing for the Daily Record, too gladly took it, and he was saying, I can't remember what it was something like he was angry at most of the former governors before 1947 were white British men. He said it reinforced in me how the natives of Britain need to realise this, the native Scots need to realise this. It was wrong, etc., etc. He's not thinking they really made this country, the infrastructure, a nice part. And since they've left, the people here just want to move to the west for some reason. They don't want to move from Britain to Pakistan, apart from the 3 reasons I gave. And his own dad gave up his British citizenship to do that. First British MP of Muslim MP in 1987. The good people of Glasgow voted him in. Yeah, so that's the way Anas Sarwar was thinking. But now he's made a speech this week. He's saying, we understand, etc., but vote Labour. Because you're not meant to vote Reform. So my message to all native women basically is vote Reform if you're worried about women's rights and LGBT+. Because it seems to me that when you vote Labour at that, it's a race to who can change Scotland the most. And also, it seems that these cases happen more often, female GM, which wasn't a Scottish tradition until 1948. So I think that people of Scotland, the good people of Scotland, are seeing how the country's changing. And of course, because they're so nice, they've been told you can't vote for reform because it means you're the R word. I'm not sure that the newcomers bother about that sort of thing, but and so the nice people of Scotland are saying, "Oh my God, I can't. I'm scared, but I can't vote reform." You know, well, I'm saying you should, you have to, if you care about women's rights and LGBT plus, you have to, as an Overton window shift. Reform are too soft in this. I mean, in 5 or 10 years' time, personally, I think female Green voters are going to be hysterical, and they're going to say Reform are much too soft in this, which they are. I mean, the two options are to go to zero or to reverse, and I think in 5 or 10 years' time, the good female voters of the Greens are going to say it needs to be reverse, because to me it looks as if it's going to be anarchy. It's okay to say it's going to be utopia, but to me it looks like it's going to be anarchy, and really bad, especially for women. It's actually, I say especially for women, it's not, it's going to be bad for everyone, but I say especially for women, to make women understand what you're voting for when you vote Labour, SNP, Lib Dem, Greens, etc., you know. So, yeah. Yeah, and this is how we turn out the seats in Holyrood. Yeah, Reform would only get, no, wait a minute. Oh, this is how we turn out in seats. Wait a minute, that's the same thing, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, this is how we turn out seats. Not very democratic at all. Reform would only get 9 seats. I'm trying to see where they would get them from there. I don't want to click on this because when I click back it's... Okay, I'll pause it. Wait a minute. Try to see. I can't see any Reform there. Yeah, Reform will get their seats because in Scotland we've got proportional representation. We've got the first past the post, which is about 50% of the seats, which is undemocratic in my opinion. But then for the other seat, they've got 3 seats for each region, which I'm totally in favour of, because say you're a Reform voter and you've got an issue about, you feel strong about the bins or something. At the moment in Britain, you need to go, if you've got an SNP MP, you need to go to the SNP thing. So you may not feel good about that, but if you've got 3 elected MPs in your region and one of them's Reform, you're probably going to go to Reform, you know. You're probably going to do the one that you voted for. So that's another reason I think PR's better. And also I think people should be able to write to any MP they want on an issue, you know. They shouldn't be stuck with their own MP. Yeah, I can't see Reform anywhere in that. No. Going to pause it again. It's probably Edinburgh and Glasgow mostly because they're tiny on this. And they town cities have changed beyond voting for the SNP and Labour. The job's done basically. So just look at the other polls that have come in this week. So that's fantastic. Like I say, I thought Scotland wasn't going to wake up, or Wales, although I thought Wales would wake up sooner because, and it is ironic because up till 1952 or whatever, the 1952 elections, Scotland was really a Tory voting area, really, and the Conservatives were called the Conservative and Unionist Party. I mean, over 50% voted Tory in Scotland up until I don't know about the 45 election, but it was still quite a Tory thingy. Then it was drifting towards Labour, then 60s it went big towards Labour, SNP, etc. Now it's big SNP, although they switched from Labour to SNP, you get the same thing, you know, on this issue, on most issues. And but now finally, at least it looks like we're going to go towards Reform, which is a total relief. Sorry about that buzzing. And Wales have been Tory quite a lot more all the time, so apart from the Neil Kinnock area and Stephen Kinnock area, Cardiff and that's Swansea, the South Wales, but they're going quickly towards that. And I think it was only about 2 years ago that Labour were trying to bring in a 20 mile an hour driving zone. I just use that as a symbol, because to me the other woke things apart from this issue are sort of an internal argument, you know. But this one issue is changing us towards anarchy forever in a way that we don't even understand, you know. long distance mixing of failed countries that the people who live there can't bear. We're mixing them all, so we've got Kalashnikovs in the air, not stopping at traffic lights maybe, I don't know, I could be wrong. Female GM, machete experts, machete tradition, all these things, rap, the lyrics about women and violence in rap and the message. These are all things, big mix, fighting between the British Eritreans of the government side and the other side, or the Ethiopians of the government side, the other side, all of them British. So reform, thank God, they're finally coming through on Wales and thingy. I think Wales are even higher. Personally, I think what's going to happen is female Green voters and everyone female beyond to the right of them are going to vote Reform as basically a native party, as an Overton window party, until other parties come through that are more sensible on this one issue. We're all going to be single issue voters. At the same time, you're going to get places like Blackburn and that, Jess Phillips' constituency that are going to vote on purity of a kind. The concentrated areas, you're going to get a lot in London. You've already got the Aspireland party in London, which is a very positive Anglo word. But they had 24 councillors and the mayor. We don't know if mosques played a role in postal voting advice or whatever. We don't know if people just signed postal voting things and gave it to somebody else. That sort of thing. The Labour MP in Leicester, the former Labour MP, he'd say that doesn't happen. He just got voted out in Leicester, which is the council call themselves the first, quote, global majority council. The city, they don't call themselves Global South majority. I don't know if that'd be more accurate. So that's good. I'm just saying, vote reform just now is an Overton window shift, Just the electoral system needs changed. It needs to be like Switzerland. So, but you've just got to make it do what you do. Vote reform at council by-elections, sign up for YouGov. I'll say this at the end. Okay, let's see. Here's another BMG research in that reform are at 24%. And I think this is one of the ones that had reform skewed to not be so popular. So now they're becoming popular, even in it's a three-way tie. Tories, Labour, Reform, all in 25% really. So I think the Tories have had it really, and Labour have had it as well. I think Labour are finished basically because of this issue. Basically, people might not say that, but it is this issue because to me it seems like madness to become a new majority of the global south and to make the natives a minority. To me it seems like madness because that's what the people came for, I would imagine. I mean, the only reason people should be moving is for good weather and beautiful scenery. That's the only two things. Labour MPs' daughters should be moving to the University of Lagos to study and to hope that they can become a citizen if they hang around long enough. That's what Labour MPs' daughters should be. Or Tory MPs' sons that are doing well in hedge funds, they've bet 200 bets and one of them come out good and they've made hundreds of millions on that one. All the other 199 bets failed. So they've done good. Instead of thinking of moving to America to work for JP Morgan or whatever, they should be thinking, I'll work for the JP Morgan branch in Lagos or Delhi, but that doesn't seem to be happening. The day that happens, you could say they've changed their views, basically. So that's BMG sort of from, this is where it's a 3-horse race now, basically. And what they're saying reform would have 105 seats. Tories 207. Jeremy Corbyn had 209 in 2019, and Keir called it the low point. This is putting him on 179. And it would be the worst result for Labour since 1935, and that was when they were on the up. They just really started. Stats for Life is saying something about the Green Party in Bristol are doing monthly bin collections for the rubbish. So Stats for Lefties doesn't like it. I noticed that they departed working for doing their stats for Novara recently. We don't know why. I mean, to me, I'm liking quite a few things that Stats for Lefties says. I'll call them they, because of as they say in their bio. It's the best pollster collecting on thingy. Let's see. They don't do the council by-elections, so that's the only bad thing. Council by-elections, we want them instantly on the night, 11 o'clock or whatever. And we want them showing percentage, etc. And we want commentary on maybe what's the demographic like, has demographics gained to do with it. Okay, so here's another poll. I think I'll do a short on this. Find out now, this is the one that a week or two ago was the first to ever have Reform in the lead in a poll. And it's the first ever. Here are 4 points in the lead, so that's a point up, I think, yeah. Labour have managed, so Reform 27%, Labour 23%, Tories 21%, down 2%. So this is fantastic. You can see Reform's getting most of England apart from inner cities and some traditional Tory areas and some traditional Lib Dem maybe, I don't know. Reform, they've got a lot in the southwest there, so that's good. On this, Reform would get 283 seats, nearly enough for a majority. They'd be up to 178. Labour would be 116, so that would be their worst ever. Tories 91. But see, the way Keir's thinking, he's thinking, well, the natives will, in 4 years, we'll have got them back round again. We'll do the bad stuff just now. We'll get them back round again. I mean, a lot of stuff, not to do with this issue, I might think, oh, that's interesting or whatever, but he's too harsh. I mean, he's no friends as far as I can see. He's no friends. There's no Starmerite movement. There's no. I don't think his cabinet like him or the MPs. He called that Southport thing wrong at everything, mate. He called the Southport riots wrong at everything, mate. He basically called the traditional Labour voters of rather than busting far right, and he locked them up for doing tweets and stuff or whatever. He locked up a Tory councillor's wife for doing a tweet. He brought in instant jail. You were jailed within 3 days of the riots. I mean, sometimes people riot because they're at the end of their tether, you know, but I mean, I was surprised there were riots. In Rotherham, it was an immigration hotel at the top, and that was the area, the grooming gang, central, of course. And the grooming gang leader, he's now a free citizen of Rotherham. He doesn't want to go to Pakistan, he prefers to stay in Rotherham. So it seems like his family and community haven't ostracised him, you know. He prefer to live in Rotherham than Pakistan. So it looks like Reform. Personally, I think all natives are going to end up voting Reform. So they'll be getting 40%, 50% at some point. They'll be like the Ulster Unionist Party of in the old days of Northern Ireland, basically. Although people were voting there for the wrong reason, but they wanted a two-tier society. But over here, it's for the right reason. People were thinking the Labour voters won't, but I think they'll go more. So I would say to the left, especially females, don't be afraid to vote Reform, because if you care about women's rights, I think you have to. in my opinion. Women's rights isn't one of the test questions on the citizenship test. You get asked things like when was it Agincourt, the Battle of Agincourt, and it's quite difficult, the citizens test, because it's basically a history test of Britain, and it's so difficult that a Nigerian British woman, or I don't know, no, she was Jamaican British, in London was sitting it for newcomers to Britain who were maybe here on visas, holiday visas, maybe claimed asylum, and she was maybe doing the test for them. She was found out for 14 of them wearing wigs and stuff, and she got a short jail sentence, I think. That's the kind of women that we're getting now. I don't know if Native women can't imagine that scenario amongst them and their friends, or Native women they don't like, I don't know, but I think that's the future. We do get quite a lot of those news stories now. I think these news stories is a sort of flowchart that Diana Abbott and myself use, you know. But Native females are very, very nice, you know, so it's quite hard. Yeah. Well, I think there was another poll I saw, but I can't see it now. Yeah, here's another Survation. Labour 27%, so they've still got Labour at the top. They're down 3 though. Reform 24%, up 4. So these seem very latecomers to with their algorithm for reform. Basically, I think they've all got it wrong, the ones that are underestimating, because they're thinking that Labour voters will still vote Labour, I think, or Native voters. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. So they've got Labour still in front there. They'll just crash though. Lisa Nandy will lose Wigan. Well, that's not to reform, so the natives of Wigan, basically, we're saying. Nobody's saying that, but they're not voting Labour anymore, so Labour there will be. And personally, I think probably a new Brit will stand there and mop up their vote, whatever community they're from, and they'll join those new 4 MPs, maybe not. As identity, basically. And here's another poll, Techney, Labour leader formed by 2 points. Labour 26, Reform 24, Tories 23, so that was from polling in 29th and 30th of January, so just 2 or 3 days ago. So you should join all these polls and vote Reform in them if you're worried about women's rights, in my opinion. The women's rights of Nicola Sturgeon and Vet Cooper, etc. And J.K. Rowling. Find out now. So this was, that's that same one from 20. So here's the projected reform seats. That stats for lefties are saying. Midlands 68 seats, 65%. The north of England 60%. I mean, Newcastle's going to go big time. Newcastle and Carlisle, the cities are going to go very fast if they've got enough of a percent to do it. They're going to switch from Labour. Wales 56%. The south of England 45%. London 13%, Scotland 0%, that's the general election. I think that's got to change, because 4 years, I think Scotland will be 50% reform, maybe 55%. I mean, I can't put a lid on it. And they're voting as a protest vote, they're not voting for Nigel. I think they would vote for Rupert more than Nigel, Rupert Law. He's seeming to be a hero in this. Not enough, but a hero. Whoever talks about zero is a hero. And common sense, in my opinion. So the common sense one would be zero. In 5 or 10 years' time, female green voters will want it reversed. I have no comment to make of that at the moment, because it's not that kind of. There's still a society of Stasi society on this issue. Only one way, basically. Stasi. Yeah. So I think that could be like 80% seats in Scotland. Like I say, the last census, white Scottish was in 2021, I think it was, or 22, was 77%. So if you asked any female voter of Scotland. What percent were white Scottish in the last census of 2021, say? We done a year later, I don't know, because of COVID. They would say 95%, 96%, something like that. So people have got to say them. It was 77%, and we've just had the Boris wave and she waves, which were the highest amount of newcomers from the global south and East Europe that we've ever had. 2022, 2023, 2024. So 77%, that'll be down at 70% now or something. We're not going to be told, basically. So I think that might be a shock to them, and it might send a bit of fear through them, especially if they're into women's rights and that, they might be a bit worried. To me, my message is vote reform. Next, join YouGov and vote reform in the polls. Do government petitions, and in council by-elections or any elections, vote reform as an Overton window shift. Every single poster now shows a 3-week contest, so I'm going to just open this up with a pause. So these are from 29th of January to the 14th of January, and they've all got it as a 23-week contest. The lowest reformer is 22% by Delta poll, and the highest is 27%, and that's the most recent by Find Out Now. And that might be because Trump just got elected, and the nice voters feel that it's okay to vote reform now. It's okay to protest vote now on what the left and the Tories have got in store for us. It's okay to protest vote against them and what they've done to their towns and cities and villages even. Because when you go to Highlands now, it's going to be very different from what you expected. And you could say, if you're disappointed, then you are R-word, But if you don't like it, vote reform, So there's reform. I think that's just going to go up to 40%, 45%. Endless limit. The limit's going to be whatever the native percent is, and probably East Europeans, and probably quite a lot of the global south as well, because they didn't come for a mixed global south, because I don't think they like it either. And they're probably thinking, why are you giving up what we moved for? Why are you giving it up? Some of them, though, many of them, it's for an ego reason that they want it to happen, just even if it means that Britain might not be a utopia, like Sadiq Khan saying. He's saying it will be a utopia. Many of them might think it's going to be an absolute anarchy, but they like seeing it happening to the natives, So who's got the lowest there? So Labour are on like 23% to 26%, but they're going down as well. They were like 26, 29, 25. They were 27 there recently. I think the trend's down though. Tories are finished recently. 25, 25, 24, 21, 22, 24, 20, 22, 21. So they're going down. Reform are going up. And Lib Dem, they're just staying sort of the same. I don't know who's voting for them. Greens, they're sort of going up slightly. 9, 8, now they're up at 10. I don't know why. Oh, well, they're going to get a lot of people who are upset about Gaza, I think. For ego reasons, they're upset about Gaza. I don't know how they feel about Palestinians. But for ego reasons, maybe a bit, as I say, I'm sympathetic for them. But I think, just for fairness, my sense of justice, I think Greens are going to get a lot of votes now for ego reasons from particular communities. But that's just a leapfrog thing. That's just until they can find identity candidates if they've got a concentrated area. Or, basically what's going to happen is we're going to have an umbrella group for one religion, even though they maybe don't get on, their MPs won't get on with each other. They're going to still just become an umbrella group just for just now. And we're also going to have a Lives Matter group for one particular thing, because they're all going to disagree with each other. That seems to be maybe why they want to move away from their countries and why they don't choose other people of countries. When they're choosing, they only seem to choose about 20 countries, 5 or 6 in particular. The colonised British countries of America, Canada, New Zealand, they don't seem to want to go the ones that say they were colonised, but they weren't. Even though their economies are doing well, like India. Yeah, so that's all I've got to say for just now. Yeah, and so I'll just say to people, if you vote left, you need to vote reform. If you're worried about, if you're worried, personally, I think you should be worried about women's rights, LGBT, etc. It's not questions on the citizenship test. Any council or by-election, you should vote reform or UKIP, or you know, you join YouGov and that and vote reform. And when it asks you what 3 political things you're worried about, only choose the one thing. Begins with I. Only choose that. And do government petitions if you want. That's about the 4 things you can do at the moment I can think of. I'm sure there's more things. You can attend a rally for Tommy Robinson or whatever, if you want. Yeah, okay, that's all for just now. And I think long term the angriest about this will be the SNP marchers who wear a kilt, like haggis and bagpipes, and like Rabbie Burns, because I think pretty soon you're going to be seen as going to be tarnished as supreme people, and it's going to be unacceptable really, and the statues need to come down. Alright, that's all I've got to say for just now. Goodbye.